Welcome. Welcome to the Profit Lab Show and Podcast. I am your host, Marie Torossian, CPA and 10X Certified Business Coach, and I'm so glad you are here. If you're new to the show, go ahead and subscribe or follow wherever you're watching us or listening us on so you can get the alerts when we drop new episodes, which is every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and more. Today, we're going to be continuing pillar number 12, which we were talking about last time, and it's going to be focused on wealth, exit, and legacy. So the focus today specifically is going to be on business transferability. New word, maybe. And why are we talking about this? Because transferability is not just about the sale, but it's about creating freedom. It's the difference between a business that can run without you and a business that collapses the second you step away. So, and I'm going to give you an example right here because I was away last week. Actually, I had a speaking engagement with the Florida Institute of CPAs. So I was gone pretty much all week. About 4 of the days were like I was at the conference. The rest of the time I took time off with my family. So my accounting firm was running. My clients were taken care of, and I did not have to be in the business at the moment to answer every question. So, and this is why I'm so adamant about talking about building a business that can be transferred, could be sold, and it's not dependent on you. So if you've ever thought about, things such as I can't take a real vacation, or if I'm not involved, everything is going to drop, quality is going to drop, or maybe you're saying to yourself, my clients only trust me. This episode is specifically for you. So let's get into it. What does transferability really mean? A transferable business is the one that can be run by someone else, of course, without any chaos. So think of someone like an operator / manager, and in bigger firms, it will be someone like a COO, Chief Operating Officer. It could be a business that has value beyond your personal reputation. So that means the business has built its own reputation, its own brand, and it has a documented, predictable, and stable systems. So when you build transferability, what you're doing is you're increasing your options. If you want to sell, if you want to merge, maybe you want to step back. I have a friend who's doing that. And delegate, right? What's also going to increase is your valuation. Most people don't do their valuations until they need to sell. And that's probably the worst time you can actually do it. What I do right now with some of my clients is to have them do their valuation now, because if they are planning to sell in the next 3 to 5 years, they have the option of seeing what's working, what's not working, and how to increase the value over time, and then have that consistent increase in their revenues. So valuation is also dependent on risk, which we're going to talk about in a minute. The other thing that would increase is your freedom, because the business is basically not dependent on your daily presence every single moment. For example, if I'm doing the podcast right now, I'm recording it, that 1 hour that I dedicate to do the podcast, things are not falling apart. I could actually do it being able to fully present, be focused right here with you. So buyers don't buy the potential of your business. They buy predictability. And even if let's say you're not thinking of selling at the moment, you will still benefit from that predictability. I mean, wouldn't you feel comfortable if your business can predictably generate revenue, generate leads, generate clients, deliver predictably as well? So let's do an example between a great business versus a transferable business. Think of two, say, service businesses that are both doing $1 million a year. The business A, the owner sells everything, they deliver everything, they manage the team day to day, and they handle all the top client conversations. Business B, the owner leads the strategy, very high level, right? It's the mission, vision, strategy. But delivery is systematized by the team, the roles that they've already established, and the team handles everything. And the numbers, of course, they're clean. They have great bookkeeping systems, accounting, and all of that. So It's the same revenue, but the business B is worth a lot more. It runs smoother and it gives the owner some options. So wouldn't you want to have some options? So let's talk a bit more on the four levers that create transferability. So the first one is systems and SOPs, and we've sprinkled that a little bit before this, and then on other episodes. The team and their roles, client relationships, and number four, it's a financial clarity. I'm very big on financials because my background is a CPA and an auditor and a CFO. It's really highly focused on that. So that's so important. And I see that happen every time we do a valuation for a business owner and their finances are not correct. It's just not going to give a correct valuation. So it's as simple as that. So as we go through these four levels that I'm going to go a little bit more deep dive, I want you to listen like if you were the buyer of your business or a possible partner in a merger or a future leader. Ask yourself, would someone feel confident stepping in? Or would they feel like they're walking into a black box? So is your business that if someone buys it, they can just run it and start making money themselves? So if it's not that, they're not going to buy it. So let's focus on lever number one, which is systems and SOP. Systems are what makes quality repeatable. Think about that. Quality, repeatable. So SOPs, which basically means standard operating procedures, are simply documented steps that explain how work gets done. A couple of questions you can ask yourself are, what are our core processes? Are they documented? Could a new leader, a manager that walks in, understand how your business is running? So for a service-based business, core processes could be something like lead intake and qualifications, a sales process, scripts and onboarding, service delivery workflow, client communication, billing, collections, and other renewals, and then maybe offloading team members, offboarding, and then referrals. How do you get referrals from your current clients? If these simple processes are not documented, the business is basically dependent on memory. And memory, as you know, it's not transferable. So the simple way to start documenting without complicating it, we want to keep it simple, is to take one process at a time. So if it's lead gen, then think about that. So think about, what is the trigger? What is it? When does it start? Who owns it? What's the team member, the role, or the person that manages that? What is the step? What are the steps? The done. If everything is done correctly, what does it look like? The steps of how to do it. And maybe there's some templates or other tools used. And that's it. It doesn't have to be a massive, 40-page manual. Nobody wants to read that long. It just needs clarity that, let's say, if you hired someone to help you with that lead generation, what are they supposed to do? That they have a manual, of a page or two manual that says exactly what they need to do, and they get trained on it. I want you to think about also, say, big companies that franchise, McDonald's, all of that. And so many other ones. It's just, that's the one that came to me right now. So people buy the franchise. They're buying the name, the systems, the training. So they're buying into that, right? Because it's like a business in a box. They're just buying into it. It's ready to go. So think of it that way, if it's easier. Lever number two, which is team and roles. A transfer business, of course, is not built on just the help that you get, but it's really built on roles. So think of your organizational chart. Which roles are there? Okay. So in most organizations, you'll have the CEO or maybe the owner, right? CEO on top, the operations manager or COO, Chief Operating Officer. You would have the marketing officer or marketing manager. You would have the CFO or the financial, accountant, the operator on that side. And then you'll have the team under them that they're managing. So in your case, What are the roles? What does your org chart look like? So when you're thinking about what that is, is everything still in your head? Is it everything in your memory only? Or do you really have clear roles and responsibilities and backup to each and every team member so that it's not reliant on you? So one thing that really happens is this, the single point of failure, which is basically one person, you, is the only one who knows everything, who can do everything, who knows, has all the passwords, understands the full client history, and it can solve problems. So if you are that single point, so you're creating the failure in your business if you are everything. And that's very, very risky, right? That's very risky. And then risk destroys the transferability of your business. I'm going to pause here for a second just to help you think through all of these questions that I came up with, and where you stand. Think about that. Because I think a lot of times people just run around running the business, doing everything, but we rarely actually step back and think about what's really happening. What are the key things that we have to do? And that's what I fix as a coach. So if you have a team, let's say, are you still the glue in that team? Does everything still depend on you for delivery? Maybe timelines and due dates? Client satisfaction depends on you. I mean, if a possible buyer or a partner for a merger looks at that, they're going to be like, oh, if this person leaves, everything's going to fall apart. So the way you fix this is just having more clarity about the roles, right? If there's a delivery team, who owns that? Who's the one having those client communications? And then who owns the quality control? If there's a system in place on quality control, then you're not the main person, right? So think of all these different roles. And sometimes I ask my clients to create the org chart and put in the roles that they would need, right? Because that way, once you have that clarity in front of you, then you're able to think about, okay, who do I hire first? Of course, you're going to need the numbers, but in general, you'll be able to start seeing, okay, this is the first thing that I need to offload. So here's the org chart. Here's the first one that I'm going to hire. I'm going to offload certain things, have them running smoothly, and then I'm going to hire the next person. So, but if you're not thinking from a big picture org chart, it's going to be a lot harder to get it out of your mind. Okay. All right. So let's get into lever number 3, which is client relationships. And this is a very big one for service businesses because, a lot of the relationships really start with the business owner and it's really tied up. And the longer the client has been with you, the deeper the relationship. So it's really important, right? But if you're the only person holding the relationship strong, then ask yourself, does your brand or your company have a relationship? Is it always you? So if it's, if you're a consultant saying to yourself, oh, my clients only trust me. So, I mean, who else can they trust, right? What have you done to help team members build that relationship with your clients? So from a transferability standpoint, what this means is that clients are able to trust the process that you've established. They're able to trust the team that is supporting you. And they trust the brand promise, right? So it doesn't matter if you're doing the job of the delivery or it's the team doing it. It's the exact same standard. The quality is always there. So I think I'm going to have a little water. So the way you can actually start, closing the gap here with client relationships is to introduce a secondary person that could jump in and start working with the client. I know I have one client that really loves talking to me all the time and I have to redirect every time, but it's a learning, right? It's something they eventually get used to. So one of the things you could do is, like I said, you can introduce someone on your team that maybe is the head of delivery, and then you start asking them to jump into those calls with the client and have them lead after the introduction. I've done it a few times, and then I've been able to step back and then let my team member handle the situation and have all the calls with the client. And if anything does need my attention, that they would bring it immediately. And in some cases, maybe it's more like operations side. Maybe it's billing and answering questions for clients regarding whatever, the billing operations side of things. And you can have an operations manager handle a lot of that. And if it's a lead generation, then you can have someone else, right? So the idea here is to build a process for yourself to be able to introduce team members in the right places and have them take over the communication and build the relationship with the client, so it's not fully dependent on you. One of the key things that I wanted to also bring here is the client concentration risk. This is something we used to look at as an auditor, and they still do. And that's basically if you have, let's say, 1 or 2 clients that are making 20 to 30% of your revenue, that's usually a red flag. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It just means that you need to have a backup plan. From a buyer standpoint, they're thinking, what if this client leaves after we buy the business, right? So you want to have a very confident answer to a possible buyer or a partner on that concentration. So look at your number of clients. It's something I'm going to ask later too. Just look at your clients and then see what portion of your clients are making up that, top percentage. Okay. And then lever number 4, which is financial clarity. And this is my always favorite financial side of things is, and it's something that most business owners underestimate. I've met people that tell me, oh yeah, I have my business for 10 years and I want to sell, and I go into their books and the financials, P&L doesn't make sense, the balance sheet doesn't make sense, and they're definitely not going to be able to sell their business right away. So I can tell that right away. So here's the types of questions you want to ask yourself. Are your books clean? Are they up to date, current? Like, it's not, let's say now it's June, but it's June. It's not that you're still closing 2025, hopefully not. And that your books are current. Are you easily able to show your revenue, profit, any types of trends that the buyer or partner might be asking during the due diligence process? So transferability requires numbers that tell the truth, right? The numbers that show up, they're not 3 months, 4 months late, like as I mentioned, and they are not mixed with personal expenses. That's a very, very big red flag, not only for a buyer, but from tax authorities and everything. So do not mix personal and business financial stuff. So for example, if you have, let's say it's another service business and maybe in IT, and it might have, say, messy books, and we're just doing an example here. So you might be showing P&L that maybe show the margins are lower than what you say. You're like, oh no, my margins are, I don't know, 30%, 40%, but actually it's a lot lower. So if your books are not matching what you're saying, it's already going to create mistrust. The risk is going to be higher, and the business is going to be harder to run without you. So, what you say, what your belief is going to be very different if your P&L doesn't show what you're saying is true. So what we always say is numbers don't lie. So make sure your numbers are not lying, because it's going to be very clear and it's going to create distrust right away. So basically, clean books reduce friction. It just makes things easier for the buyer or the partner to look at, and when you are able to provide these financials to a possible buyer upon request quickly, and it's clean, and you have structures and SOPs and you have an org chart, it's just going to make a different kind of impact right up front when they're considering buying or partnering with you. So at a minimum, This is what you should strive for. At a minimum, have a monthly P&L and a balance sheet. Take a look at it. When your bookkeeper gives it to you, take a look at it, ask for questions, have them always available. Consistently categorize transactions the way they need to go. You got to pay attention. So if there's anything month to month that seems off, you should question that because something could be categorized in the wrong place. And then have a clear owner compensation. This is really big, especially for owners that are maybe on their own and they just have some 1099 contractors. So there's no real clarity about how much compensation it is for the owner of the business. So this is in LLC situations, of course. So make sure that that's very clear. And maybe a simple dashboard of revenue, profit, cash, and key drivers, like a one page. You can put it in Excel, fairly straightforward, just key numbers month to month, and it creates a nice dashboard. And the last thing I want to talk about is how do you de-risk the business and what buyers and leaders are looking for. So here are 3 practical ways to think about how you can reduce the risk of your business transferability. So we talked about reducing client concentration. Yeah. Aim for no single client having more than 20 to 30% of your revenue. So for example, if 4 of your clients are already making 80% of your total revenue, that's a lot. That means it's very tied up. So diversified lead sources, if all leads are coming from one channel or one relationship partner, that's very fragile. So hopefully you're getting leads from different things, different people. It could be social, it could be email, it could be your current clients. So different lead sources. And document key knowledge. Let's say the passwords, vendor information, client history. That's so important. And any delivery workflows. So transferability is not a one-time project. It's a leadership standard. It's how you build a business that can grow without you. Okay, as we wrap up, we always go with the profit question of the week. So here's your question. If you had to hand your business to a capable leader for 90 days, starting tomorrow, what would break first? So imagine someone else coming into your shoes in your business and you can't touch anything for 90 days. What will break first? All right, now for the actionable items. Number 1, list your top 5 undocumented processes and pick one to document this month. Number 2, identify any single point of failure, roles, systems, or clients that you need to correct. Number 3, clean up one financial item this week. It's either maybe reconciling accounts that haven't been, separating owner expenses if it hasn't been, and just review the last 90 days of your numbers. What did I tell you? And then number 4, schedule a transferability review with your accountant or advisor and ask, what would a buyer question first, right? It always comes back to your financials. And with that, on the next episode, we're going to talk about legacy, what you want your work to mean beyond just the revenue and the titles. So, and if you want more help building a business that gives you real options, more profit, more freedom, and less owner dependency, I welcome you to book a call on theprofitlab.biz/book a call. And with that, I will see you next week.